PCVR gaming gets you way better visuals and access to thousands of new games and mods that make gaming on your wireless VR headset absolutely insane. But you need to choose the right settings to get this all working perfectly for your specific setup. Today I'm going to cover home network and Windows performance tweaks. Welcome programs to part 3 of my 13 video course on wireless PC VR gaming. This is the complete guide, so if you want to know what good truly looks like and how to get it, then stay locked, enjoy, and I hope it helps. If you want to follow along with this complete course, check the links in the description to the other videos and for the equipment I use personally. I'd strongly recommend you watch from the first video, and I'll tell you when to skip videos based on your specific VR setup. At this point, if you've gone with the 6th PC as a mobile hotspot setup I covered in the last video of this course, you can now check the timestamps in the description and skip ahead to the network reset section of this video now. If you're going with any of the other setups, then keep watching here. Before we get into Windows performance tweaks, the first thing I'd strongly recommend you do is a quick check of your PC's Ethernet port speed to eliminate any potential issues with that before they occur. For this part, if you are using the first standalone router setup I covered in the last video of this course, you'll be doing these next steps with your standalone home router. If instead you're using one of the dedicated VR router setups, you'll be doing these steps on your dedicated VR router. Keep that in mind. So from here, first unplug any Ethernet cables you have plugged into your PC's Ethernet port. Then run a Cat5e or higher spec Ethernet cable from a LAN port on your standalone or dedicated VR router into the Ethernet port on your PC. Power the router on if it isn't already, and wait for all the lights to stop blinking so you know it's fully started up. Now over on your PC, hit the Windows key on your keyboard, type View Network Connections and click on this. In here, you'll see all the network adapters connected to your PC. You'll see your PC's Ethernet port adapter, and this is the Ethernet port on your PC that your router is currently plugged into, or you may even see 2 Ethernet adapters here if you have 2 Ethernet ports on your PC. If, like me, you also have a USB-C to Ethernet adapter plugged into your PC. You may see a local area connection if you're using a VPN like I am, just ignore this. And if your PC has Wi-Fi on it, you'll see your PC's Wi-Fi adapter here. For now, right-click on your active Ethernet adapter, which will be the one that doesn't have a red cross next to it, and click Status. If you can't select Status in here, it means you either don't have anything plugged into this Ethernet port on your PC, or there's another underlying issue. Regardless, just keep watching anyway. In here, look at your connection's link speed. This needs to be running at 1 gigabit per second or higher for wireless PCVR. If this does say 1 gigabit per second or higher, then you're good to go, and you can check the timestamps in the description and skip ahead to the Windows performance tweak section of this video now. If this shows less than 1 gigabits per second, for example, only 100 megabits per second, the first thing you'll need to do is hit the Windows key on your keyboard and type Device Manager, or right-click the Windows button in the taskbar and click Device Manager. In here, go down to Network Adapters. Click this little drop-down arrow to expand it and locate your PC's Ethernet port adapter. It will say Ethernet in it. Right-click that, go Properties, and then click on the Advanced tab. In this list on the left, scroll down until you find Speed and Duplex, and click on that. Now on the right here, click on the value drop down and make sure this value is set to auto negotiation. If it's already set to that, you're good and can just click OK. If it's not already set to that, then set it to that, click OK, Wait 10 seconds, reboot your PC, and then check your Ethernet adapter's speed again. If it's jumped to 1 gigabits per second or higher, you can now skip ahead to the Windows Performance Tweaks section of this video. The next thing to do if you aren't seeing a 1 gigabit link speed is to update your Ethernet network adapter's driver to the latest version supported by your motherboard. A faulty driver caught me out and sent me down a rabbit hole, so this will help you avoid that same problem. To download the Ethernet driver, you'll first need internet access on your PC. If you're using the first standalone router setup, you'll already be connected to the internet through your router. Alternatively, if you're using one of the dedicated VR router setups, if you have Wi-Fi on your PC, connect your PC to your home Wi-Fi network or a mobile hotspot on your phone for internet access. Or if you don't have Wi-Fi on your PC, disconnect your dedicated VR router from your PC's Ethernet port and instead run an Ethernet cable from a LAN port on your main home router into the Ethernet port on your PC to connect to the internet. Whatever setup you're using, on your PC, hit the Windows key on your keyboard, type System Information, and click on this one. In here, take note of your OS name, mine is Microsoft Windows 11 Pro, your baseboard manufacturer, and the baseboard product. You can see that mine is a Gigabyte Z790 Aorus Elite Wi-Fi 7 motherboard. With that information at hand, search online for the make and model of your motherboard, followed by LAN driver. And what you're looking for here is an official link to your motherboard manufacturer's website. As mine is a Gigabyte board, I'll go with the link to Gigabyte's website. If yours is an Asus board, go to the Asus site, and so on. Whatever official site you end up on for your motherboard, look for a support or driver and utility tab. If you see different board revisions, like my Gigabyte board, which has revision 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2 drivers available, select whatever revision board you have. If you don't know the revision number, search online for how to find your specific motherboard's revision number, which is usually located on the actual motherboard itself. Mine is a 1.0 revision, so I'll click on this, then look for the latest available LAN drivers for your version of Windows. As I'm on Windows 11, I'd choose this latest Windows 11 LAN driver and download that to my computer. And just for comparison's sake, if you have an Asus board, you'd be looking for the support pages, driver and utilities tab, selecting your operating system, and then downloading the latest LAN driver. It's very similar on different boards. If you get lost here, hit me up in the comments and I'll help you out where I can. Now you have your motherboard's LAN driver, unplug any Ethernet cables you currently have plugged into your PC's Ethernet port. Then in Windows, locate the LAN driver you downloaded and double-click it to install it on your PC. Once that's done, shut down your PC and unplug your PC from the wall power socket for 30 seconds to fully power cycle your PC. Then plug your PC's power back in and boot up your PC. Don't skip that step. Now go back into the device manager, find your Ethernet network adapter again, right-click it, click uninstall device, make sure attempt to remove the driver for this device is ticked, and then click OK. Wait 10 seconds and your Ethernet network adapter's LAN driver will have been uninstalled and is gone from this list. Now reinstall the LAN driver you downloaded earlier for your motherboard. Once that's installed, reboot your PC again and make sure you don't skip that reboot. I know all that sounds like we're going around in circles, but not doing it in that exact order on my PC caused the driver install to fail, which is what sent me down this rabbit hole in the first place. Now, with your standalone or dedicated VR router powered off, run a Cat5e or higher spec Ethernet cable from a 1 gigabit LAN port on your standalone or dedicated VR router, depending on which setup you're using, into the Ethernet port on your PC. Power on your router and wait for it to fully boot up. From here, go back into the View Network Connections menu, right-click your active Ethernet adapter and click Status. If this now shows a 1 gigabit or higher link speed, you can now skip ahead to the Windows Performance Tweaks section of this video. If this link speed is still less than 1 gigabits per second, go to the network reset section of this video, try resetting your network, and then come back here if that doesn't get you to a gigabit link speed. If after all that you still don't get a 1 gigabit or higher link speed, triple check your Ethernet cable is plugged into a LAN port on your router that supports 1 gigabits per second connection speeds, because not all of them do. If that doesn't help, try swapping out the Ethernet cable with another one, and make sure it's Cat5e or higher spec, and there's a link in the description to the cables that I use personally. If that doesn't solve the problem, it could mean there's an issue with your PC's Ethernet port, in which case the best thing to do next is to get a USB 3 Type A or Type C 1 gigabit Ethernet adapter to add gigabit Ethernet to your PC via USB. Again, I've put a link in the description for the one that I use. Once you have one of those, go back to the network reset section of this video and follow along again from there. And if that still doesn't solve the problem and you still don't get a gigabit link speed, then it's entirely possible that there's a physical fault, like a broken pin, on the LAN port on your router. In this case, first try swapping to different LAN ports on your router. And if that doesn't help, then try plugging a different router into your PC to see if that router gets a gigabit link speed or higher. If it does, that means your PC's Ethernet and network are fine and you've got an issue with your VR router. If that's the case, then if you're using the first standalone router setup, you'll need to buy a dedicated VR router and go with one of the dedicated VR router setups I covered in the last video in this course instead. Alternatively, if you're already using a dedicated VR router setup, then I'd say you'll need to replace your dedicated VR router. From here, you need to be aware of how to reset your PC's network settings to default. This is important because sometimes you'll do everything right, but for some reason, nothing seems to work. And this can absolutely save the day. The only thing to be aware of is you'll have to re-enter your Wi-Fi passwords to reconnect, and you may also need to reinstall other network software like VPN clients or virtual switches if you have them. But those are much easier to do than spending weeks trying to solve an issue that this will fix in minutes. No need to do this right now, it's just important that you know it exists. To do that, on your PC, hit the Windows key on your keyboard, type CMD, and this time right-click Command Prompt and choose Run as Administrator. Then click Yes if you get this prompt. Now you're in an elevated command prompt, type netsh space winsock space reset and hit enter. Once that's run, type netsh space int space IP space reset and hit enter. Now hit the Windows key again, type settings and go into there. Now if you're on Windows 11, click on Network and Internet, scroll down to Advanced Network Settings, then scroll down to Network Reset and reset your network. On Windows 10, in your Settings menu, click on Network and Internet, go to the Status menu, and down here click Network Reset, and then reset your network. You'll get a message saying your PC will be rebooted. You don't have to wait for that, just reboot your PC when you're ready. Once your PC has rebooted, if your gaming PC or laptop has Wi-Fi on or built into it, hit the Windows key on your keyboard and type Services. Click on this, and then in this list, scroll down until you get to the WLAN auto config entry and click on it once. If it says running here, you're good to go. If this column is blank, then over on the left, it will give you the option to start the service. So you'd click on that to make sure your wireless network service is running. At this point, if you have reset your network, check the timestamps in the description of this video and go back to the Ethernet link speed and network adapter driver update section of this video to check your link speed and reinstall your network driver if needed. Otherwise, just keep watching here. And that's the network tweaks covered off. Now, let's look at some Windows performance tweaks to get the optimal performance out of your PC for VR. At this point, if you're using the 5th dedicated VR router only setup I covered in the last video of this course, you'll need to get some sort of internet access to your PC, even just temporarily, to proceed from here on out. This is so you can at least download the minimum required software to get any of this to work. The best way to do that if you're going with this setup is to connect your PC's Wi-Fi to a mobile hotspot on your phone. If your PC doesn't have Wi-Fi on it, then you'll need to grab a Wi-Fi network card or USB Wi-Fi adapter to add Wi-Fi to your PC. And I've put links in the description to the ones that I use personally. From here, the first thing to do is make sure your PC's motherboard BIOS is up to date, especially if you're using an Intel 13th or 14th gen CPU. To do that, you'll have to search online, as every motherboard has a different file and method, but it's as simple as downloading a BIOS update file either online or from inside the BIOS and installing it. Just make sure that you follow the instructions properly from your motherboard manufacturer's BIOS update page. Next, let's create a Windows restore point and then make sure Windows is up to date. You do this because if Microsoft pushes a Windows update in the future that breaks something, you'll want to be able to roll back your system to a time before that update. To create a restore point, hit the Windows key on your keyboard, type restore, and click on this create a restore point option. On the system protection tab, create a restore point here. Once you've done that, hit the Windows key on your keyboard again, type update, hit enter, and then click check for updates. Keep doing this until there are no more updates, and once you're all updated, reboot your PC. Now you need to update your graphics card driver with the latest VR-friendly version. To do that, first hit the Windows key on your keyboard and type system information. Click this one here, expand the components submenu, click on display, and then scroll down until you see the name entry that has your graphics card listed in here, and take note of that. Then on the System Summary tab, you'll see your version of Windows here. Take note of that too. Now head over to the Virtual Desktop Discord server. There's a link in the description to that, and in any chat, type /drivers and hit enter. NVIDIA card users click this one and then download the graphics card driver from here and save it to your PC. Locate the downloaded file, double click it, click OK, agree and continue, click Custom Advanced, click Next, then unless you specifically use it, which I don't, untick the HD audio driver box. Tick the Perform a Clean Installation box, then click Next and wait for it all to run through. Once it's done, make sure you reboot your PC even if you aren't prompted. AMD card owners, click one of these options depending on your graphics card. Then scroll down until you see the download section and click the latest driver here for Windows 10 and 11 64-bit to download it, and then save that on your PC. Now hit the Windows key on your keyboard and type add or remove programs. Click this, find your AMD driver software in this list and uninstall it. Once that's done, reboot your PC, then find the AMD driver software you downloaded. Double click it and follow the prompts to install it. Once it's done, make sure you reboot your PC again, even if you aren't prompted. Next, I recommend you set your graphics card software to defaults so there are no settings disrupting your VR session. So if you're using an NVIDIA graphics card, go to the NVIDIA control panel and on the Manage 3D Settings tab, click this Restore box to restore default settings. Or in the NVIDIA app, go to the Graphics menu and in the Global Settings tab, click Restore here. If you have an AMD graphics card, in the AMD software, click on Settings, then select System from the submenu. Locate Factory Reset and click on Perform Reset. If you're using an NVIDIA graphics card, hit up the NVIDIA control panel or the NVIDIA app again, and on the Manage 3D Settings menu, in the Global Settings tab, scroll down and set the Power Management mode to Prefer Maximum Performance. Also, set the texture filtering quality to High Performance. Once we've fully set up your VR stream, if you still have performance to spare, you can come back and up this to Quality and see how you go. Make sure the background application max frame rate and max frame rate are both set to off, and once you've set all of those, click on Apply down the bottom here. If you are using the NVIDIA app, on the Graphics menu in the Global Settings tab, you can set those same settings in here with the exception of texture filtering quality. Now you want to make sure your PC is providing full power to your gaming session. To do that, hit the Windows key on your keyboard, type Choose a Power Plan, click this one and make sure this is set to high performance. Another thing you'll want to do is look at hardware accelerated GPU scheduling in Windows, which is a feature you'll see if you're on NVIDIA 10 series or AMD 5600 series or later graphics cards. To find this setting, hit the Windows key on your keyboard, type Graphics Settings, click on this, then click Advanced Graphics Settings, and in here you can enable and disable hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. Whether you want this on or off depends on what type of PCVR games you are playing. For most people, you'll want to have this turned off because having it on can increase latency in some games, which is bad. In particular, if you are playing UEVR, flat to VR games, you'll definitely want this turned off. Where you'll want this turned on is if you are playing Luke Ross Real VR mod games, and I'll put a link in the description to the Flat to VR Discord server where you can find all of these Flat to VR mods I'm talking about. The other time you'll want this turned on is when you are using an NVIDIA graphics card that supports NVIDIA's DLSS feature or an AMD graphics card that supports FSR, and you want to use these features in a game. If you have this turned off, you won't see DLSS or FSR available in games. So if you're wondering where your DLSS or FSR setting has gone in game, that's probably where it's gone. The next thing you'll want to do is hit the Windows key on your keyboard, type Game Mode, click this and turn it off. Having this on can interfere with some games. If you are overclocking your CPU, graphics card or RAM and you have performance issues or crashes when VR gaming, these are the first settings I would roll back to default before anything else to see if that fixes the issue. This has actually caught me out a couple of times. In terms of your computer monitor or TV, if you are playing native VR games like Half-Life Alyx, Skyrim or Contractors or whatever, it doesn't matter what settings you have on your monitor or TV. If you are playing flat to VR games though, which take a traditional flat screen game and force it into VR, like Alien Isolation, you'll want to head to your Windows settings, into the HDR menu, and then disable HDR here. And finally, in the NVIDIA control panel, NVIDIA app or AMD software, make sure that Vertical Sync or Vsync, Freesync, VRR or Enhanced Sync are set to off. These settings can wreak havoc with your flat to VR game. The other thing to be aware of is some firewalls and antivirus software may cause issues with a wireless VR stream. No need to disable them now, it's just something to be mindful of. If you set everything right from this course and you still get issues, consider disabling those one by one to see if they're blocking anything critical. And if you have multiple monitors monitors set up, it can't hurt to unplug your second or third monitor to stop Windows from rendering extra graphics onto those screens in the background while you game. Once you've made all of these changes, reboot your PC one more time. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below and I'll help you out there. Now you know how to tweak your home network and Windows settings for wireless PCVR gaming, you need to know how to set it all up properly to get the best quality and speeds out of your VR headset. To know that, at this point, if you were going with the first standalone router setup I covered in the last video, you can check the links in the description and go to the standalone router setup video in this course. If you are going with the second fully cabled or powerline or Mocha adapter dedicated VR router setup, you can skip straight to the best dedicated VR router setup video. If you are going with the third or fourth setups, which use ICS or internet connection sharing, you can skip ahead to the dedicated router setups with ICS video. If you are going with the fifth dedicated router only setup, you can skip to the dedicated router only setup video. If you aren't using a router at all and are going with the sixth PC as a mobile hotspot setup, you can now skip to the PC as a mobile hotspot setup video. And if you're using a Puppis S1 router, you can now skip ahead to the 10th how to set IPD and connect VR headset video in this course. And that's it for this video. You can help support this channel and get exclusive content over on Patreon. And if you like this video, then hit the like button, have your say in the comments below, and hit the XO logo to subscribe if you wanna. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.